Good evening and welcome back to our weekly question and answer series for Anash.org. Question: can we eat matzah that are chometz in the 30 days before Pesach? Yes, you could eat matzah which is made for all year round and it's not kosher for Pesach, because this matzah is not made shimmer michometz. That means it wasn't washed, that it shouldn't become chometz. So therefore, it has a din like chometz, and therefore, since it has a din like chometz, you could eat the matzah in the 30 days before Pesach. Although physically the matzah is baked less than 18 minutes, but since it wasn't washed, that it shouldn't become chometz, and then the machine does not get cleaned, and it stays all kind of dough, and it sticks to the matzah, so therefore it has a din of chometz, and you can eat it in the 30 days before Pesach, according to our meaning that from Purim we don't eat matzah, which you could be yoytze Pesach. Another reason is, today's day, most of the wheat is washed before they grind it and make flour. So it's washed. So again, it's becheskes chometz. So therefore, you could eat this matzah before Pesach. Now, the people who eat only hand matzah, for sure they could eat this matzah, the machine matzah, which is non-Pesach, because it does not have the taste at all like hand matzah. Hand matzah, machine matzah, does not have the same taste. But even the people who do eat Pesach machine matzah, since this matzah is non-kosher for Pesach, and also the taste is not the same 100%, as anybody could attest to it if they tried it. So therefore, since not eating matzah before Pesach 30 days, it's only a minig. The minig Chabad is from 30 days, and the Chok Yanka brings it down from Chodesh Nisan, but it's only a minig. So therefore, you could be mekel on matzah which is non-kosher for Pesach. But Erev Pesach itself, you should not eat this matzah. Although, if we would have said it's 100% chometz, you could eat it even Erev Pesach ochet. But since Erev Pesach, the Isser of eating matzah is Medina, is lahalacha, it's not memenuga, it's lahalacha, because you should eat matzah which you eat at night l'toyufen, when you're hungry, when you have a taiva to it, or like the other reason which the Rishonim say that you shouldn't look like a gargaran. That means that as if you cannot sustain the temptation of eating matzah till at night. So therefore, Erev Pesach, since it's Medina, you should sustain from eating this matzah, although la locha it is a becheskes chometz. But the first 30 days before Pesach, since it's only a chimra, you could eat matzah which is not kosher Pesach on Shabbos or whatever. Question: can a Chabad chassid bake matzah in a bakery from other chassidim that go according to Rabbeinu Tam? So the Maim Shaloni is a later time when by us is already at night. A very good question. We know we have to bake matzah only from Maim Shaloni. Maim Shaloni means it was pumped from the well, from a well or from a nuhar, bein hashmoshes. So the question over here is, our bein hashmoshes is earlier than their bein hashmoshes. Their bein hashmoshes is when by us is already night. So can we rely on their bakery and buy matzahs? And the answer is yes. It's no problem at all. Because the reason why we need to bake matzah from Maim Shaluni means it was overnight, is in Sima Tufnin Hai Siv Bais. The Alter Rebbe brings down two reasons. The reason of Rasha, which Rasha says since the month of Nisan is still considered part of winter, and we know winter the wells are warmer since the air on the ground is cold, the wells are warm, and we are not allowed to bake matzah with water which has some kind of warmness. So therefore, you cannot eat baked matzah only with water which was shept before nightfall, and you leave it during the night, or at least the 6 hours from Chatzois till in the morning, and then you could use it. So that's the reason of Rasha, because Nisan is a part of winter, and winter the wells are warm. There's another reason, which is the Das HaYarayim. The Yarayim says a different reason. And he says, because at night, all the wells in the Nehoras gets warm, and therefore, since the sun goes under, and therefore, you cannot use only when it was the water was taken before nightfall, and you have to leave it from beginning of nightfall all the way till in the morning, and only then you could use the water. The nafkimene between the two reasons is, for instance, a place, Australia or Brazil, in the places where in the south, which Nisan is the end of the summer, not the end of the winter. So according to Rasha, which the problem of the water is because it's the end of the winter, so therefore, in a place which is the end of the summer, you have no problem, because then the wells are cold. According to the Vayerichem, it's always a problem, because at night, the wells get more warm than in the morning. So that's the reason why we need to have Maim Shaloni. We are machmar according to both reasons, as the Alter Rebbe states, in Shulchan Aruch, and therefore has to be taking the water by Nashmoshes, and you cannot use it all the way till in the morning, till Anetzachama. So, if a person will shep it, will take the water a later by Nashmoshes, will have a problem. But Lamaisa, all the bakeries which I spoke to, which I asked them, told me that they're taking Maim Shaloni about 10 minutes after the Shkia till about 25 minutes after the Shkia. And so therefore, even by us, it's still by Nashmoshes, it's before night. So therefore, we have no problem of using their water which they take from Maim Shaloni. Additionally, one bakery told me that even after taking the water within the 25 minutes of Shkia Sachama, they don't use it the next day, they only use it a day afterwards. So for sure, we have no problem to use matzah bakeries which do not go according to the Goyim like us, and they go according to the Rabbeinu Tam, because even they take Maim Shaloni right after Shkia Sachama, before our nightfall. Question: if a child makes a siyam Erev Pesach, is it good enough for him that his father does not have to fast for him because he's a Bechor? And do other people who are Bechorim could rely on a siyam which a child made? And the answer is yes. The Poskim write, it's of Naspanayich, Simeyid, in the Betzera Chochma, in Rav Wosner. They all write that if a child learns a Gemara Masechta and he understands what he learned, not he just said the words, he understands the Masechta which he learned, you could rely on his siyam. He himself, for sure, he could rely on his siyam, but also other people could also rely on his siyam because he understood what he was learning. If you only said the words, we cannot rely on it. But since he learned the Masechta and he understands Bavona Vasugu, what he learned, people could rely on that siyam and could eat Erev Pesach and do not have to fast Tanas B'chorim. Question: can a person rely on a siyam Masechta which he heard from a person giving a shir? That means he goes to a Daf Yomi shir, he didn't say the words of the Gemara, but his Maggid Shir went through the whole Masechta together with him. Is that good enough to make a siyam Masechta? And the answer is yes. Because we know Halacha Shulchan Aruch, even by davening or by brachas Shemaya Koina, if a person listens to someone else say something, it is as if he himself said it. So the same will go also by learning. If a Maggid Shir gives a shir on a Masechta and he finishes a Masechta, the person who listened could rely on that siyam, and it's okay. That means he could make the siyam himself. Not he could rely on that person making the siyam. He could make a siyam because as if he learned the whole Masechta. And this is how the poskim bring Shal Shivas Vavurich Duvet Chalik Baisim Akif Ein Zayin and other poskim. If a person learned the Masechta via tape, CD, online, not a live Masechta, not a live shir. So over here, in the Vayvurich Duvet writes that you cannot rely and he cannot make a siyam on it because that's not a Shemaya Koina. But a sort of sefer, which is called Nechumas Yisruel, and Hilchas Bein Amtzurim, regarding making a siyam in the 9 days. And in Peirik Chuf Hai, Sif Chof, he brings down from Arav Reb Chaim Kanievsky that he says that even if a person learned a Masechta through a tape or a video, etc., he could still make a siyam Masechta. Question: a person that does not use and drink coffee on Pesach, but this year he wants to change the minhag because he'll have some kind of situation and he needs to have coffee. Does he need to make Naturas Nadurim? The answer is, it is an Huge Toive not to drink coffee or not to drink anything which is made out of his house. And since you made an Huge Toive, you should make a Naturas Nadurim. Now, it's true we have the Noide B'Yida in Dugel Mavu, which write any minhag which you want to change just for one time, you don't want to change it for good, just for one time, you don't have to make it to the Sindurim. But since not all the poskim agree with it, and since in this case I am afraid that if you start this year to drink coffee on Pesach, you might stay with this minhag, and it's not a big deal to ask 3 people to make a Torah Nedurim, it is kedai to make a Torah Nedurim. Question: Bacharam who go on Merkas Shlichus and they come back Erev Pesach after the end of the time which you could burn the chometz. So they leave to the airport way in the morning or in Fatuks in the middle of the night, and they will land only after Soviz Man Sraifas chometz. What should they do with their burning the chometz? The same question will also go, people who go to work early in the morning and they cannot burn the hummus in their workplace, and when they come home will be after Sof Siman Sraifas Chumatz. What should they do regarding Sraifas Chumatz? And the answer is like this: if you go to the airport or to work when it's already in the morning and you could burn the chumatz yourself before you go to work and before you go to the airport, that's the best thing to do. But if it's a situation that you cannot burn yourself the chumatz before you go to the airport or to work, then you could make a shliach, someone else, he should burn your chumetz. You could leave the chumetz for someone else and tell that he should burn it, and you yoytze the mitzvah. This is how it says in Shal Shivas Ben Moshe, Chayli Gimel, Siman Ayin Gimel. Now, we know there's a machlokes rishonim if a person could make a shliach to be mavatel chumetz. Because some rishonim say it's that you cannot abandon the chumetz, you cannot make hefker, abandon the chumetz through a shliach. Because we don't say shliach shalom kemoise regarding hefker. So some poskim think that maybe nullify the chumetz, bittul chumetz is also in this category, and therefore you cannot make bittul chumetz through a shliach. But lemaise, the askumas achroinam, and the Mechaber himself writes in Siman Tuf Lamed Dalet Siv Beis that you could make bittul chumetz through shliach. But regarding burning the chumetz, we don't find that poskim should say outright that you cannot burn the chumetz through a shliach. So therefore, you ask someone else should burn the chumetz for you, and you're yoytze of the mitzvah of tashbisi. Now, who makes the bittul chumetz kol chamiru? That's for sure the person who goes to work in the morning and his wife and children will still eat chumetz later. He cannot burn, and he cannot say kol chamiru mavatel chumetz right after he burns the chumetz in the morning. Why? Because he cannot be mavatel chumetz when his family are still eating chumetz which is left at home. The same will also go for the person, that bacher which flies back to New York or home. When he asks someone else, he should burn the chumetz. So if that guy burns the chumetz in the morning and the bacher will still eat chumetz afterwards, the bittul chumetz is not good. So therefore the poskim say that the shliach should burn the chumetz later. When he burns his chumetz, that's later. That means the person himself, when he burns the chumetz, if he burns the chumetz before he goes to the airport or he goes to work, he cannot say kol chamir because he's going to eat still or on the airplane, or his family is going to eat at home. So you ask the person who basically burns the chumetz that he should say kol chamiru, and he should say kol chamiru, which ploini ben ploini, that and that person asked me to burn, and all his chumetz I am mavatel, and that's the best thing, because if that person will say it on the airplane, he might forget, because Chazal wanted that you should say right after streifes chumetz the bittul, because then you will remember to make bittul chumetz. But if you burn the chumetz in the morning and you're going to say kol chamiru when you're flying or in the middle of your work, you might forget. So the best thing is that you should make a shliach, someone else should burn your chumetz, and he should stay kol chamiru. But today's day, the truth is today's day that we have a phone, and if the person who burns the chumetz could call the person who told him to burn the chumetz, then the person who has the chumetz, he should say kol chamiru. If he's on a flight and he doesn't have any connection to the person who burns the chumetz, then again you should tell for the person who burns the chumetz that he should say kol chamiru, and say that ploinim and ploini is mavatel the chumetz. But if a person has connection to the person who burns the chumetz, then he should himself be mavatel the chumetz, and not the shlich should be mavatel the chumetz. Question: induction stovetop is kashable for Pesach, and how? It's highly recommended not to use Pesach induction stovetops. It's not a big deal to invest in a traditional gas cooktop for Pesach, because since the glass we treat as if it is like ceramic, because glass we treat Pesach as ceramic, like a suffolk glass lechimra, so therefore it's not kedai and preferable that you should kasher it. But if a person is in a place which he cannot have another stove and he has to kasher it in order to be able to cook for Yom Tov, then the way to do it is like this. You wait 24 hours without using it, then you put a pot on top of the stovetop filled with water, you boil it, and you let it overflow from the pot, and then you pick up the pot a little bit because you want that the water should go underneath the pot, because over there basically is hot. So the hot water overflows from the pot, and you pick up the pot in order the water should go under the pot, and then you put back the pot, and this is how the stove burns through the pot. It burns the hot water, and that's hagola to this stovetop. Or you have another option. You could pour a lot of water on top of the stovetop, and then you put on top of it a pot with hot water with water to boil, and that will automatically boil and kasher the stovetop. Then you should cover the whole stovetop, and let's say make a hole where the pot is going to be, because I think it won't work if you cover it if you totally covered it, and then you could use it. So again, if you need your shasat chagudel and you have no option, you cannot buy a regular stovetop, you pour water on top of the stovetop, you boil a pot of water, and you put it on top of it, you let it overflow, you pick up the pot in order it should boil and be magel the stovetop, then you cover it, and if you need to make a hole, you make a hole only underneath of the pot, and then you could use it. Lately, I think this year, it came out a special item in Eretz Yisrael with the hashgocha of Mechon LaTechnologia, a special cover which could cover the whole stovetop from an induction stovetop, and then after you kasher it, you just covered it, and then you can use it regularly without having any problem in making a hole on the covering, because it's not like the hole, because again we are afraid that things will go underneath the cover. So if you could buy that covering, that would be the best thing. And the same should be done also. A person that has such a stove and he has it for milchiks and fleishiks, it is kedai to purchase this cover and dedicate one. If you could dedicate one stovetop for milchik and the rest for fleishik, it's perfect fine. And if not, you use it with this kind of cover and all year round, because you don't want to use the stovetop once for milchik and once for fleishik. It's not like kitchile bachlal. Okay, thank you for joining us, and please join us again next week and send in your questions to inbox@Anash.org. Good night and have a wonderful week.